Jason from Planted in Detroit again. So today I thought I would show you how to deadhead an African violet. As you can see, all of my blooms have faded away. And we have a few that are that I left on so I can show you how to deadhead. And then on the other side, it has a twin. So I'm gonna show you how to divide these safely without trying to break some of these leaves, because they are super easy to break. And I'm gonna try to remove any dead leaves to just clean it up. And then I'm gonna put it in a separate bowl because I have another bowl like this. All right, so when you deadhead, let me try to move closer. You're just gonna take your two fingers and then pinch right below the flower. And then a lot of time, I mean, this happens with me because I'm impatient, but I'll just pull off the entire stem. Like the first one, it was pretty much dead, so it all just came off. That's totally fine, because it'll just regenerate another stem for more flowers anyway when it dries up and gets kind of hard. But I've noticed if you just yank the whole thing out, it kind of takes a little minute for new flowers to regenerate. But what I like to do is just pinch it enough to take the dead flower off when it's nice and crispy, and then wait for the remaining stem to get hard. And then you can just literally just pull it right off and you won't damage any of the plant. So that's super easy. And then in a few weeks, you'll get new blooms. And I do this year round. And I even get blooms in the summer through the winter. The summertime, because I just have a lot more humidity and sunlight, I get like more blooms and they seem to last longer. In the winter, I just get a few here and there, but still very pretty, very nice. This has a nice pink, like a light pink color to the flower. And I'm gonna switch my camera so that I can show you how I pull these apart and I divide them. So stay tuned. All right, I'm back. So what I have is a plastic knife. I just have one that I set aside in a tray to avoid any dirt from getting on my carpet. But what I'm doing here is just loosening up the side of the bowl, and it helps to have a plant that has been dried out. I waited about a week since I watered this guy. And it's a little bit moist on the inside, which actually really helps, especially when you're dividing plants. If it's too dry, then the plant won't easily split apart. And then you risk damaging the roots and possibly even killing the plant. But if you do want to divide something and you notice it's really dry, you can always set the root ball in some water or mist it, and then that'll help split it apart really easily. The key with African violets is patience. And you can see I'm just playing. Obviously, I sped up the video so it's not super long. But you just want to be gentle with the roots and pull them apart. And I also took the time to pull off any dead leaves or any it's like dead stems from the flowers, because if you have a lot of dead leaves, it can lead to bacteria, which can lead to like root rot and different diseases on the plant. And I kind of shook off the dirt as much as I could, because I'm going to add fresh dirt, which will give it more nutrients. Now what I'm doing here is just adding a little bit of dirt to the bottom, so it's not just roots right at the drainage hole. And then you just want to fit it so that the plant is not too deep down, but also not like above the edge, because you're never going to be able to water it if it's too high. Now with the bigger plant, it was a little bit of work. What I found useful was putting some dirt in the pot and then kind of making like a bowl on the inside where there's some dirt around the sides and a thin layer on the bottom. And then you want to take like a plastic cup or like a spoon and just gently add soil to the sides. Now, I would recommend transplanting or dividing an African violet in the springtime when it's the growing season, but just wait till after it's done blooming and the blooms have faded, because you want to enjoy the blooms as much as you can. Otherwise, you're just gonna kind of waste the blooms, and I just want to enjoy it, and then later on, when it's faded, not to worry about it. And then while you're adding the soil, just be very careful not to put too much soil on the leaves, because they're so gentle, it can actually kill some leaves. But these guys sprout new leaves on a weekly basis, so it's not a big deal even if a few are damaged. I was lucky and not a lot of leaves fell off, but you could see I had a few that I just pulled off eventually. And then also you want to make sure you kind of tamp down the soil so it's enough support for the plant. You don't want the plant to be wobbly. I've made the mistake before, and you end up having to repot the plant anyway because it's just going to wobble back and forth. Especially when you water the soil, it'll compress. But you definitely want to have plenty of soil. I had some moisture control soil that I'll show you later in the video. And it only cost, I think, like $5 or $6. And even with my amount of plants at home, it'll last me a while. And with these African violets, you want to transplant it about once a year if you want to get that big, dramatic, full-grown African violet. It's super easy, and I'll show you the end product in a sec. See, the smaller one, it looks like half of a plant because it was stunted by its twin sister. And that's fine. It'll come back. Might take a week. Well, might take about a month. But it'll be fine. I put both of mine in a nice area, and it'll come back, no problem. All right, so now we're done splitting them, and I did repot both of them. So the larger of the two is in this pot, and it's missing basically its back half. And that's fine, and that's because it grew closer to the sun on the one side. So what I'm gonna try to do is like rotate this side, so this side's getting more sun, and then it'll balance itself out. And then the little like dwarf twin, if you want to call it, I put it in this other bowl that I had. And as you can see, like, you can add a ton more soil to this, but I didn't do that on purpose because it's so small compared to the other one. And African violets can frequently get wet feet, and then that can lead to disease, and then eventually the plant will die. So I put less soil in here, so there's less chance for it to get wet feet. And it looks basically like you cut one in half, or like, I mean, basically what happened was it was underneath the other one, so it only had so much room and so much light. Now in the transplanting process, I did lose some leaves, but most of them were dead, which is fine. You definitely want to pull off the dead ones while you're transplanting. I did put fresh soil, and you want to get either like an African violet or moisture control, or what am I talking about? Or a cactus soil. And yeah, moisture control, that's what this one. This is what I used. It's basically very similar to cactus soil. And I think cactus soil is a little bit cheaper than African violet soil anyway. But anyway, the reason for that is so it dries out quickly and it's not sitting in water, because again, that can kill the plant. That would lead to root rot and then death of the plant. Now, what to expect if you're really really hyper, I don't know, type A person, you can take like a brush or something or your finger and gently kind of remove as much soil as you want or as you can from the leaves. Because even a little bit of soil is enough for these fuzzy little leaves to die. But that's fine. I mean, it's just like how humans shed hair and skin cells, plants shed leaves, and that's totally part of the circle of life. But yeah, it's normal for a few leaves to die off after you transplant because it's very shocking to them. But what I'm gonna do off camera later is I'm gonna give this a good soak, and that'll also kind of make the soil sink down and compact, so it gives it more support. And what I love about these bowls, all you have to do is just put your watering can in the side and it'll go all the way around the plant without hardly touching any of these leaves, so you don't have to worry about burning the leaves. And right now it's May, almost June in Michigan, and because it's the growing season, it's the best time to transplant these and divide them. I've been wanting to do this for about a year, but it's been so cold and there's not a lot of sunlight, so I didn't want to risk killing the plants, both of them. Now what I am expecting, because that's what happened when I transplanted the big guy, I won't get any flowers, probably for the rest of the summer, which is fine. But instead, you're gonna see the plants literally growing to the size of this bowl. And for example, some of these really small leaves are gonna double or triple in size, and it's just gonna get massive and just cover this whole bowl. So probably later in the fall, I might do an update on how they're doing. And that's normal, and the reason it's doing that instead of producing flowers is because all the energy is going towards expanding the plant, especially for this one that was cramped. It hasn't had much room to grow, and it's kind of like pent up. So now it has plenty of room, it's gonna get plenty of nutrients, tons of sun. They don't need direct sunlight. They actually do really well in like the corner of your room where it gets mostly shade, but a little bit of indirect sunlight now and then. So I'm just gonna put these guys in 2 different corners, and they should be pretty happy. You can fertilize it once a month. They do have African violet fertilizer in like foam or liquid, and even powder that you can mix with water. But I just use the same for all my plants. I use the fish emulsion. It's organic and it's pretty good, and not really toxic for the environment. Although they're literally crushed up fish, which is kind of a bad situation right these days. But I already had it, and I'm not gonna throw away something, because you might as well use it all to the very end. Now what I'm gonna do, especially for this one because it's lopsided, I'm not gonna like immediately turn it like that, because that'll be drastic and your plant's not gonna have the best time absorbing sun. I'm gonna do like a quarter turn every, I don't know, a week or 2, and then it'll slowly grow back and then kind of level out. And with plants, patience is key, and especially when transplanting these, you want to have plenty of time. Take your time so you don't break a bunch of these stiff leaves, because then that might stress you out more, and then you're like, oh my god, I'm killing it. But it'll be fine. Anyway, that's all for today. Have a nice day. Bye. I'll see you next week. It's organic.